Hello there, my name is Morgan Rushton. I'm one of the voice directors on Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm very lucky to be joined here today by the talents to my left, who will introduce themselves.
My name is Gregg and I play Delita.
My name is Eleanor Bennett and I play Princess Ovelia Akashka.
Hi, I'm Joe Pitts and I voice Ramza.
And here we all are. I can't quite believe it. It has been a full 28 years since the original game came out in Japan, 27 since it came out in North America. People are very excited.
It's been great seeing the reaction to the release of the trailer and the announcement of the game and the cast. It's exciting.
Absolutely.
I just feel so privileged to be here, really, and to share a little bit about what we got up to over the last almost year.
It's been a while. Yeah. It's been a while, but it felt like no time, didn't it, Joe?
It did, but also now we can talk about it. I think there's so many NDAs and you sort of.
That's the hardest thing, really, isn't it? Keeping it all under wraps. You get excited about it. You want to talk to people, but you can't.
Using code names, and then it's like, I mean, even when it was announced, I was like, but does that mean I can talk about it? And it's like, your name is there, it's out there in the universe, but you're still
it's just video games are like that. It's quite an interesting thing, and many is the actor who's gone, well, I mean, my name's out there, so I can, and you can't. But I do think that my reaction, like watching the trailers this week, watching reactions videos to the trailers, that's what I like to do, and them going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It did sort of marry with my own kind of feelings of like, it's finally out, and those secret things we worked on are out there, and people are responding positively.
Some of the secret things
some
are out
the
there.
secret
And
things.
more to come.
So I think, because I think we're getting a sense of like what the audience expectation is now, could you tell us a little bit about what your expectations were when you got this, when you auditioned for it? Like what you came into it thinking it was, and what you realised it was subsequently.
Anyone?
I mean, I knew it was kind of the behemoth of video games from the get-go. So I was quite overwhelmed by it from the audition. I think I thought it's so big. I just want to have fun and play in the booth and I was just excited to meet the team. And then when I got it, that was when I again was overwhelmed and thought, okay, when I saw sort of the hours of how many hours I'd been going into the studio, I thought, oh, this really is happening now. But I was also just really excited, like looking it up and seeing sort of the reactions now. It's like, it's sort of hitting home, like how big it is, but how exciting.
Is in terms of your experience previous to this in games, like did you have you like, this is obviously a lead role, right? You are the heart of this game, really. Yeah. So there's a serious burden there, whatever the game is, even if it's if it weren't as beloved as this one is. Yeah. But what was your previous experience?
So I have done a couple of games which I'd really enjoyed, but I guess they'd maybe been sort of supporting leads. So again, even when I got this audition, I thought, it'd be lovely to sort of be a part of the world. But I don't think I'll get Ramza. But like just to be a support would be great. But I think that was also really helpful having had some experience on games, so it wasn't completely new to me. Yeah. I'd worked with directors. I sort of knew the expectations of what it would be like in the booth. Obviously, I'd never had the weight of responsibility before. I knew like Phil Lamar is the original voice of Ramza, was so beloved, and I just wanted to do justice, really. I knew there were big shoes to fill, but it was hard, but I really tried not to have that weigh on me every time I went in. And I think that was really helped by you guys and the kind of atmosphere that was created.
Fun times, right?
So fun.
Super fun.
We got to explore it. It never felt pressured. I know, like, in terms of scheduling when people can come in, but I also felt very lucky, actually, when I went in that there was kind of a world already created because some characters had already been voiced.
That's a curious fact about this game, is that you were one of the last actors to kind of come in and begin on the project, at least. There was lots and lots of studio time with Joe, but it meant that the the tone had somewhat been defined by then. And I know that me and Oli, the other director on it, and Tom Mills from Square Enix, who was the script supervisor and worked on the new parts of the localization, we all sat in the room and put together all these other pieces of the jigsaw without the Ramza-shaped slot in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, I hope that he can carry this, because if people don't like him...
I know.
and I think they will. We
Well,
do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just say that when you don't have, if you're first in the booth or earlier on in the booth, in whichever block, our esteemed voice directors, Morgan and Ollie, read those parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, watch your back.
Yeah, I know.
Because I acted
do you
against
just wanna
this
go
man
in?
a lot.
I contemplated a recast, but scheduling didn't work.
Sure. Sure.
Thank you, though. But that's. I think that the thing you mentioned about video games, just video game work generally, so much of it. There will be visual aids. There'll be like character, some graphics, but often you guys are on your own, in a booth with your imagination, and some people to help you and support you. But the actual the imaginative stuff you're trying to do, it's much harder than being in costume against a green screen, even, because you're not even in costume. You're just, and often the mic will be off and people will be arguing on the other side of some glass, and you think, I don't know who I am or whether I've done it.
And that's one of the hardest things, I think, that
Yeah.
I think people probably don't realise about voicing characters in games, is that you're often doing it on your own. It would be lovely for us to be in scenes together and be working off each other, bouncing off each other, and playing with ideas in that way. But it doesn't work in that way because of many different reasons: space, time, scheduling. So you're right, but you guys did such a good job at helping us do that.
I think, some of it was you. Some of it was you guys. You also were good. Genuinely though, I think like the three of you, I referred to Joe as the heart of this, but I think that in thematically, all three of you are the heart of the game. You all kind of epitomise different things, and I think the sensitivity of your performance was absolutely amazing. We're very lucky indeed to have you.
You asked about expectations, and just to touch on the script, just for me, doing the audition after reading the script was just so good.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, wow, this storyline, just from the little scenes that we were doing in the auditions, the script was so good. I was like, this would be a very exciting project to work on, just with the story and the script alone. So that was kind of my expectation from it.
I also felt that when we were in the room, that there was no, we honoured hopefully the work that our predecessors did, but there was no kind of expectation to copy or replicate. So as artists, because what we're creating here is hopefully art that people love, we had that freedom to put our own interpretation and spin on it, which was a gift really, because there's nothing more challenging than the pressure of replicating someone else's work, or even the Japanese artists having to replicate that as well. We were given the freedom and the space to do, to get our creative juices going.
Yeah, especially something that's so loved.
Yeah.
You don't want to get it wrong.
I think that's from the developer's perspective, like the fact that we could record lines to our own lengths, just technical things like that meant that you could make what choices you made, and I think there will obviously be differences between the Japanese performances and the kind of the aesthetic of that somewhat, but I think that just the material is so full of juice to squeeze that it kind of just led us, and you guys just ran with it, and it was brilliant, I thought. Were there any favourite moments? We could maybe talk about favourite scene or favourite things about your character that you might want to revisit. I've got lots. If you want, you tell me yours, and then I'll tell you.
I have a favourite scene with my character.
Go on.
But for those who haven't played it yet, I don't want to spoil anything. But there's a moment of loss for Delita in particular, which is kind of the fulcrum of his whole character journey, and it was such a powerful scene, and so so much emotion and journey comes out of it, and you understand Delita and where he goes with his storyline, with his personality, with his motivation for the rest of the game. That one scene is always, and there's one line in that scene which I'm not going to say, but there's one line in that scene that I think about all the time. So yeah, that was. That I'm sure people will be able to work it out.
Yeah, that moment of crisis. I actually think that some exciting scenes early in the game where Delita and Ramza and Argath, played by the brilliant Ben Allen, are interacting and just epitomizing these different worldviews, and this aristocrat keeps kind of needling Delita in this way, which kind of keeps nearly bringing out the darkness within him, and I just remember those scenes and you trying to keep them together, come on lads,
tension,
we're on the same
and
team.
The tension's building and building and building,
and to the moment of crisis you talk about, right? It absolutely, I think. Delita's like just a fascinating character in terms of and maybe you could talk about what your character thinks about him and when you were kind of going through the game, but like the moral ambiguity, like is this ultimately what moral compass does he follow essentially, or is there one at all? What is your
It's difficult because I think Ovelia is she's a bit of a vulnerable character. She has this amazing strength, which we really played into. We didn't make her a victim. There were times where I felt like, as a character, I was being taken advantage of. And I was always in this state of like, who do I trust? Where do I go from here? But I sense even though my delightful co-star wasn't there in front of me, there was a chemistry and there was something like love there for somebody that hasn't always had love shown to her. So it was a real mixed bag of emotions, and each time we went through the sessions, I found myself very confused, which I'm sure is how Ovelia would have felt.
Absolutely, being moved around, being influenced by all these things beyond the control.
He's very good at manipulating, isn't he?
Absolutely, a master, and then questioning her own self as well.
Yeah, because I guess with Delita, the question that everyone kind of asks is he a villain or not?
Yeah.
Based on his motivation for what he does, is he a villain or not?
Do you recall some of the scenes we would play later in the game as well, that sometimes the context and the kind of power he has over people would mean that you sort of play villainy. Do you know what I mean? You come into it and then we might do it again and just go play it as if you're the hero of this scene.
We really didn't want Delita to be like a mustache twirling sort of villain, and it's really easy with the story and some of the script to go down that route, and sometimes I was guilty of that. But you were very good at pulling me back and being, as you said, no, now try playing it as the hero, and it just gives us such a more nuanced read to the character, which Delita really needs, I think.
I think there's some incredible, specifically in that. I mean, ultimately, the three of you bring out these different things, and your three characters bring out these different things. There are some scenes with Ramza and Delita meeting later on in a church and those kind of things, and these moments of brotherly love, and the side that we haven't really seen of Delita, just kind of feeling the pull towards that person he used to be and all that stuff. I thought you.
That was one of the audition scenes, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, and that's one of the scenes I was referencing when I was talking about the script, the heretic in the church.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think Ramza has just the most incredible story arc to play. I felt just blessed to have that journey to go on. So sort of establishing him at the beginning of the story, when, he's obviously from this noble family, but he's very much in the shadows of his brothers. And he wants to prove himself, and he wants to prove his worth and uphold the name. But then, of course, through sort of this backdrop of political turmoil and conflict, which he's very much involved in, he goes on this most incredible journey of sort of personal discovery. His whole belief system and moral compass gets questioned, and he has to reckon with that and come to terms with that, and ultimately make the choice which is right for him, and which takes a lot of courage to speak out against people and have conflict with characters who from the beginning they were on his side. One of the most exciting bits was coming back to characters which I had established some relationship with before. So again, there was a lot of pace that we looked at of how to pace the performance. So it was the same Ramza, but he'd gone through so much then by this point that his relationship has changed. He has more courage, he has more belief, more conviction. But what's it like when he rediscovers characters, and what's that initial moment like, and how does he then respond? So yeah, trying to sort of establish that journey was exciting. I think it helped that we recorded sort of throughout the storyline, really. We weren't doing
chronologically, that's something we were lucky enough to do, because the material was already, and sometimes with game development, like lots of kind of film and TV, you have to do things out of order, right? And you know, you're like, your friend's just died, right? Now you're meeting your friend for the first time and all that stuff. And like with this, because I think partly because it is an enhanced version of something which has existed for a long time, that means all the material is there. We can chart our courses in these directions. The script is ready, which is also a bit of a luxury in video games. So yeah, we kind of, there was a destination in mind, wasn't there?
Exactly.
I must say that, like, do players at home enjoy the classic Matsuno experience. Enjoy, please, the amazing work that you guys did in the enhanced version, but also do play the bonus videos, because every layer of this had the same kind of scrupulous care and attention spent on it, right? And those, I think it's quite easy to, when thinking back on the project, to remember when we have not just the voices in our minds, but we have the visual aids of like some of those cuts, the video sequences to remember. That kind of really brings things to life in my mind. But you were mentioning incidentally, I think the idea that even sequences where we didn't have any visuals are now alive in our minds too, right? Yeah. That's a thing.
We were thinking back on some of our favourite scenes, and I had this one moment where I was travelling with Agrias to the Cardinal de la Croix.
The home of the Cardinal, yeah.
And that was purely voiced. I'm not even sure if we'd had some of the other artists come in and do it, and if it was just us reading it, the three characters, or two. And it was so rich in my memory and mind. I feel like I was there doing it, and that was completely created within a little tiny studio in 7 Dials in Covent Garden, London.
I can picture the mountains, like, you know, it's
absolutely
crazy.
So yeah, we were seeing them off in the distance.
Yeah. I remember that session. That was brilliant.
Well, that's real testament to your kind of knowledge and detail of, you know, setting up the scene for us. I don't know about you guys, but you know, you're always good at going to so much detail and giving us like what's happened before.
Too much, I would often say.
What colour the mountains are.
Lighter blue, lighter. That's about right.
But no, it's really helpful. It's really helpful, because sometimes you rock up in the studio and you have a scene and you kind of don't know what's happened before, and and you need that context.
We did some long old sessions with you guys. Do you remember any low points that you felt in the process, and just like, oh my god, I'm not getting it, or oh my god, how many more hours, or was it?
I wouldn't say low points. There were definitely challenges with efforts and some of the gameplay. We called them like incantations.
Oh my gosh, I had forgotten all of that.
So some of the sort of the spells and stuff that they're cast. Often we sort of just have like a free flow of like, let's just ride it and see where it goes. Obviously you have to be quite fit.
There's a physical toll.
Definitely. And again, like finding variation within certain, I mean, you know, just for some of Ramza's battle lines, we had a lot to get through, and obviously I was really keen to differentiate them and find variety. Sometimes you think, have I done that again? Am I finding variety?
You had the challenge, but actually Delita and Ramza both have the challenge of being their initial selves, the kind of the 17-year-old with aspirations to chivalry, and going, take that, or whatever, and then the one...
That's the young cadets.
Yeah, exactly, the young cadets, and then the one 7 years later, or whatever it is, years later, going like, take that, and it's
so
just...
you also had two young Delita and old Delita.
Exactly. And the nuances, even like, so generally speaking, I think the team tried to give you different things to say, but there would be times when the young version of your character will be saying the same thing as the old one, and then it would just be what are they bring, what extra.
Or having a young attack and an older attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like one's a hand of justice, and the other one's a hand of pragmatism.
And the physicality thing is a real thing. You need real stamina to do those, you know, the efforts and the fighting.
You have to just go. You just have to commit.
Yeah,
You just have to.
and it's not just a vocal thing. You have to use your whole body, right? You have to really like get physical.
Yeah. I think I've got the sense that like it felt like coming out of a boxing match. Some of those like 3 hours of the incantations we mentioned. There are hundreds of them, right? And they all basically take the form of start the spell gets bigger, spell gets massive, and then another 150 of those.
Yeah. With some really difficult language.
Pronunciation.
With a couple of points, you said, "Okay, we'll just do the next 8," and I was like, "Wait, Morgan, can I just really clarify the pronunciation of this first before I go for this?"
And then ultimately you get unmoored from reality, don't you? So you start to not be able to pronounce normal words.
I know. And then they're like, "Should we have a tea break? Can we just come back?" I was like, "Yeah, okay."
Do you find that time stands still in the booth?
Yeah.
And you're in this world, and you step out of it after, you know, the max we'll go for is like maybe 4 hours in a block or whatever, and
so that's a chunk,
we take regular breaks for sort of technical reasons and vocal health and things like that. But you're sort of so fully immersed. It's like being in a play almost.
Yeah.
And then you come out of it, and it can take a few minutes for me. I don't know about you guys, but to just like readjust to being in the normal world again.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ovelia doesn't have such a high burden of like physical, demanding scenes, but there were some emotional moments where, you go for a few, and you never exhausted us, but you want to push it, and that can be quite draining as well.
Yeah. Because we want to make it as real as possible, right?
Yeah,
so
we do.
you're putting everything
Well,
into the emotion, the physicality.
The places you're going with that trauma. It needs to-
Absolutely.
I think with Ovelia especially, the challenge of not making her a victim. But like you have to sympathise with her similarly. So she is a victim of circumstance, and she's sort of reaching for salvation in various places and trying to play this game that she can only vaguely see the pieces in. And so, if she were just a victim, a victim of circumstance, we go, oh, poor you. But it's only by seeing the human being doing their best in that and dealing with things which are way too much for a person their age to be dealing with. I think that was the trick, wasn't it? And you only do that by making people really feel your pain and making and your loss and your lostness. And I think that you did that amazingly. I can only imagine giving that for 4 hours, and then outside, blinking the light, and it's shake it all off, right? Yeah, that really came across the depths you were going to, the drawing from the well kind of thing. Well done.
Then as an actor, I think it's when you're listening to those voices and those. I mean, there's some amazing performances on this job. Like we talked about that commitment, that openness to those emotional moments. That actually, in scenes when Ramza was battling with his own emotions, or emotions were coming up to the surface. Listening to those voices and those performances, you're sort of you're taken there immediately. And again, it's just allowing that openness as an actor to all come through your voice. It's sort of knowing, well, if you're feeling this, but that's okay, but it has to then come out through your voice, because at the end of the day, it's not just in the eyes, unfortunately.
But
there are no eyes.
There are no eyes. I loved watching your reactions to, there's some amazing actors in this. Obviously, we're going to have later on there will be Tim Watson's and Sid, Ben Starr's in there. There's some brilliant talent. Kevin McNally, just great voices, and you kind of going into this place again, you can't see, you don't know, and then you meet the Duke for the first time, and there's Kevin McNally or whatever, watching you kind of rise to the occasion, and every occasion was brilliant.
I hope so. I think there was a lot more where I said to you, God, they're really good, aren't they? They're like, yeah, I know. I was like, oh, wait, sorry, I need to stay in it.
The wonderful thing about that is that how similar you are to Ramza, and there's an earnest core to you. I mean,
it was very overwhelming.
Am I good enough for this?
Anxious, constantly anxious.
But it works. Yeah. Okay, so we are nearly at time. So to wrap things up, I want to finish by asking you guys if you have a favourite line in the game. And I think Ramza, maybe Joe, you should go first.
I do have a favourite line. My favourite line is, "I've lived a far from righteous life, but I endeavour to walk a righteous path." Yeah, I mean, does that speak for itself?
Oh my God, it speaks for us all, I think, doesn't it?
I think for Ramza, people say he's the hero of the piece, but he knows he's flawed. I think that's really important. And when he goes on this journey, he recognizes his own flaws. He knows he's made mistakes, but he's ultimately trying to do what is just and right. So I think that was kind of the route that we took throughout all of it, from young to old. But holding on to that is sort of his core.
Absolutely. I think if you go from being a complacent goody, who hasn't ever questioned goodiness, to having the world go, and then to decide that you get the choice to be good or not, ultimately, and that's a big choice when you know what the choice means.
Yeah.
I think you epitomised it beautifully, and what a lovely line of dialogue.
Yeah, great line.
Eleanor?
I have one. All this suffering and solitude, what purpose did it serve? And I think it's something around Ivalice always running red with blood, and ultimately the futility of things, but the desire to keep going and keep kind of struggling and fighting.
Fighting on.
She doesn't give up. To give up would be, there wouldn't be a story to tell for her.
I think there is like Ovelia's literal isolation from her, but I think it speaks for lots of the characters where they are on their own with their problem. Like Delita is on his own with his problem, right? And he finds ways to solve it, and nobody knows quite what his game is. Even the woman he loves doesn't quite know what his game is. And what's it all for? What am I doing? That's a great
Shakespearean.
It's very Shakespearean.
To be or not to be.
That's what they were shooting for. I think they got it. Beautiful, beautiful line. And what about you, sir?
Yeah, I have a favourite line. My favourite line is much more simple in terms of language, and I'm not going to give the context in which it says it, because for those who haven't played the game yet, I don't want to spoil anything, but for those who do know the story, you will know what I'm talking about. And the line is, "Teacher." Not said like that.
Okay, well, I think that's just about all the time we have. The time has come to hand over to the guy I like to call Director A, me being Director 1. That's Oli Chance, who will be joined by Tim Watson, Ben Starr, and Hannah Melbourne.
3, 2, 1, go! Welcome.
I'm Oli, I'm the other voice director, and I'm here with
Ben Starr at the kids' table.
Hannah Melbourne.
Timothy Watson.
And what characters did you play in Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles?
I play Dycedarg Beowulf.
I played Agrias Oaks.
I play Sidolphus Orlandeau, the Thunder Cid. I prefer it.
But, which plays into a point that I was making just now to you guys. Basically, the 3 hardest characters in the game. Morgan was talking about the heart of the game before, but you 3, between the 3 of you, could basically kill everybody, right? And that's a lovely, lovely place to be operating in.
Yeah.
And Ben, you are also horribly duplicitous.
Yes.
And kill people.
Yes, and that's why I said I want to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult. We also have experience being a part of this franchise already, right? Where you've been able to be a part of creating something that's very iconic in a lot of people's eyes, and certainly coming off Clive Rossfield, which a lot of people have this very intense relationship with, because they've been with him for a long period of time, and they've been with my voice or my performance for a long time. It was a very difficult decision to kind of come back to this franchise, because I thought, I don't know, do you want to come back? Is it going to be as good? But I think we managed to have a conversation about how in which we can do a character who's very different. His texture is very, very different, and Dycedarg is he's kind of a piece of shit, really.
Yeah. That's what's good about it.
He is, but there's a beauty in it, and there's a playfulness, and there's all this, there's plotting and scheming, and obviously you don't want to play him as a piece of shit, but he has to have his own reasons, and he believes his reasoning, but it just happens to be very much in opposition to what Ramza and
And I think we talked about a lot that whole thing when we were briefing everybody when everybody came in for the first time, right? It was like, this is a world, not goodies, not baddies. Everybody has their motivations. They just might have terrible motivations. But it was never about, like, as they were saying earlier on, mustache twirling baddies and super heroic goodies. There's always those, like, angles that we had to find on things. And that was where all the fun was, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for Dycedarg, one thing we always try to do is like pull it back, because the writing is so beautiful. I think there's just this kind of amazing kind of Shakespearean musicality to the way that it's been written. You don't need to put much on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's not about giving, it's about holding back, and I think there was certainly a lot of restraint in the way that you directed us as a performance.
People's experience of acting in video games, people's experiences of FF as a series, and we're all bringing very different levels of that, right? Because Hannah, I think you were saying this is kind of your first big FFE level thing.
Yeah.
And how's that been, and how much did you know?
Oh my God, it's been amazing. I'm not a gamer, so I didn't kind of grow up playing the franchise, but I was born in the 80s. You can't not know about it. And so, yeah, when I got the call to say that I got the job, I was like so hyper, so excited. It was my mum's birthday. So, yeah, I was with all my family. Yeah, just couldn't believe it. And it's been such a massive learning experience, like working with you guys. Working with amazing directors on something like this is such a treat. Like, it's been rare for me to have that, so yeah, it's been...
Is this one of your first games you've done?
One of the first, yeah.
What was it like? I feel that I'm kind of used to it now. I think there's this, you just kind of go in and you get an understanding of how it's done. But like me personally, I find there's like a different muscularity to the way in which you kind of need to perform in a game like this, as opposed to just kind of like doing it for TV or film. Like, or even stage. I feel like it's a combination of all of them. But like for you, what was your experience coming in? Did you feel like it was a different skill you had to bring to it, or did you just kind of like sink straight in? You went, I know how to do this.
I felt like I was really looked after by these guys. Like, I didn't have an expectation necessarily. I've been a voice actor for a long time, but not really in games. I've done bits and bobs, and yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but. Yeah, I didn't feel, when I was doing the audition process, that's when I felt like loads of pressure. But then once I got the job and I was in there, I just felt like, yeah, really taken care of. And I knew what they wanted me to do, and it kind of flowed.
And that's like a two-way street, I think. We were talking earlier on in some of the pre-stuff about this, about how I think a lot of actors come in and they know that FF is a series with a huge amount of, like, you know, everybody knows what it is. It's got these fans. They're worried about doing the right things for those fans.
We have a huge responsibility, and I don't want to put pressure on it, but there is a monstrous responsibility on our shoulders when it comes to this game, because we are saying words that most people for the past 20 odd years have been in their own heads.
Yeah.
They've been delivering the best version of these lines in their heads. These characters have lived with them in their minds, which we could kind of probably never live up to, but we're just going to kind of give our best. For me, I saw the reactions to it being announced. I think someone said, "Are they going to shout out the spells?" And I've shouted some spells in my time, but I've never shouted them like this. Yeah. It was crazy. And because this game is so iconic in the way that it has these kind of really particular idiosyncrasies that are specific to tactics. It is a game that many people have lived with for a long time, but then also many people haven't lived with for a long time. There are people who have skipped it. And if you're experiencing it for the first time, we have to give as equally a compelling performance for people that have loved it forever, and we're introducing, you know, these characters to them for the first time. But getting to shout those spells out was cool. We had that kind of like naming thing. It was like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we talked about earlier on the 3 stage.
Yeah.
This is the start of the spell. This is the middle of the spell. Here's the name really loud.
Biogar.
Yeah.
What was like some of the weirdest stuff?
Then we got into like elaborate Japanese words, right? Chirigerade.
Yeah.
And then we all had, so Tom from the script team was there, and we were trying to figure our way through, like, obviously we're not going to try and get people to do authentic Japanese pronunciation. So what's the level of sayability in English, which isn't embarrassing, but is also not it was a really interesting balancing exercise. And then you got to take that person seriously as casting a giant, massive spell as well. So that was
That is the challenge, right? The challenge is how can you make something that is so fantastical sound incredibly human?
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful puzzle, I think, of performing is taking something that might sound so alien and make it seem incredibly relatable.
But you also get into I'm just remembering now that particular session, Liquid Violet, and doing 3 hours of the 3 levels.
Yeah.
You do get into a groove where what the extraordinary becomes natural.
Yeah.
So that after a while you realise that the extraordinary is actually entirely natural. It rolls off the tongue. So the first page of those incantations is a little bit weird and taxing, and then by page 3, 4, it's makes complete sense.
Like you've been doing it your whole life.
Like your whole life, yeah.
But I think you find that with elements of like story as well, right? You're dealing with these worlds with strange alien concepts that you have to take seriously, and sometimes it takes a bit of bedding in to say those things, and then by the end of the project, you're all talking about it like it's the most normal thing in the world.
It took me a couple of days to be able to say Beowulf correctly.
Oh yeah. That was the hardest one.
I've seen so many people be like, I'm finally going to get to know how to say the word Beowulf.
Because you had to be like, it can't be Beowulf because there already is a Beowulf. So then it became Beowulf. Christian Beowulf.
Christian Beowulf was
Gareth Beowulf or Christian
Beowulf
Beowulf.
with a F on the end.
Beowulf.
Yeah.
It was great. Great game.
But you're coming in with deep knowledge of it to the point where I would sit next to you being slightly embarrassed because I didn't know anywhere near as much as you did.
Yes.
Thanks for that. But we're all coming in with different levels of knowledge. And then I think there's also a thing about like how much information you get given in the booth as well. What was your tactic going in, Hannah? Did you deliberately try not to find out anything? Or
Was my tactic?
Yeah.
Also great reference. Just
I would be like, at the beginning I would be sort of like diligently like doing my actioning on my lines and like really sort of like thinking about the different ways that I could deliver the lines and all that. And then after the first session I was like, there's literally no point in any of that because all of the stuff that I thought might have been going on was completely wrong. And you guys were giving all this lovely context and texture and whatever. So it was just having to be in the moment and just be like available and ready to do whatever you were explaining was actually happening in that scene.
So that sound of surprise in your voice was genuine.
Yeah, but it was a great way to work because it meant that you were really in the moment and you weren't just like, you weren't married to the music of something that you'd already tried to do. Yeah. You go in and you would just be kind of trying to be the character and be responding in real time. And I would come out and I'd be like properly
but
exhausted.
Like coming with that level of flexibility is really, really useful because some people will come and say you did have knowledge of the franchise and there's the weight of these characters, like Ben said, that people have been in love with for years. If you come into that room going, oh my God, I'm going to have to live up to that.
Yeah, this is what they would do. And
that's just going to steer things in a certain, possibly unhelpful direction anyway.
Yeah.
So
I really like what you said about the idea of not being married to the music because I think it's so true. There are so many different versions of the way you can say that. Everyone has a plan until they've been punched in the face. You have to adapt. You have to be nimble on your feet, and often the best performances come from the choices that you didn't know that you were going to make. I mean, I've worked with you and Morgan for many years. For those who don't know the context, we worked together on Final Fantasy 16 for 4 years, and I would say some of the choices that we made in that game, and certainly the choices that kind of were the way we work, is very instinctual. It's let's try something different. Let's try and figure out the...
Don't play the question mark.
Yeah, don't play the question mark. Like, there are lots of different ways in which we worked, and it was great kind of transposing that into the kind of the key of Final Fantasy tactics of working in that way. And I certainly came in with a plan of how I thought Dycedarg would be, and very much at the beginning, I remember you just guys going, don't do that. I was like, okay. Yeah. And that was cool. And it felt like it freed me up from all of the bad choices I'd basically made on my own, and finding a much more interesting dynamic to that character, because there is a temptation to do that. And some of my favourite lines, my line readings I've ever given on on any role I've done have been because I've thrown out those initial ideas and allowed myself kind of to be adaptable in the moment and listen to what another performance that someone else is giving, having someone to act opposite.
Yeah, those things informing other things is always really, and again, like we were saying, having the other stuff to play in, the luckiest people. In fact, I think Joe Pitts was the luckiest person because he got to walk in with the world basically built around him.
That pisses me
Well,
off.
he was the last one.
I'm gonna say, that pisses me off. Because I was always the first to go in on 16. I acted opposite one.
You did the exact.
I did the exact opposite.
Thousands of hours of shouting into the void.
And no one to act opposite.
Yeah.
Joe got it easy.
Yeah, he did. He did. But you know,
Lucky boy.
he's a likable person, and we wanted to help him as much as we could.
Pays to be likable.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you guys have any favourite lines from your characters. We'll start with you, Ben.
There have been lots of lines that I have said in this game, and actually, before I answer that, it has been very interesting seeing people message me and say, "I can't wait for you to say this line out loud," which has been quite nice. But the line I will choose for the purposes of this is, "I mislike the question."
My question.
I hate your question. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Dycedarg is, as I said at the beginning, some nasty things about him, but as we pointed out, he has to feel very vindicated in his actions because he does some abhorrent things, but I think he believes he does some abhorrent things for reasons that he believes to be true and honourable, and his version of honour may be warped in comparison to the point of view of what Ramza believes in, but he believes what he's doing is right and the betterment for his family and the betterment for his people. Like he has been taught to these things, he has learned these things, and he believes that that's the way he should be. And I think that line in particular is a fantastic distillation of his belief system, really. He's not a horrible person, he just has a misguided life. And
that's what we were working on, right? That's how you make him not a baddie, is by
justice for
approaching it like
Dycedarg,
that.
everyone. Justice for Dycedarg.
Hannah?
One that sticks in my mind is when Agrias says, "Have you no pride, no honour?" And
Again, these all feel quite personally directed at.
Yeah.
sorry, Ollie. Just because there were so many lines with her where we spent loads of time peeling off the layer of like aggression and contempt that you naturally want to, if you're saying to someone, have you got no pride, have you got no honour? But with her, it's like, it's not that. She's not coming at it with this kind of contemptuous attitude. It's that she doesn't understand how someone can be
possible.
like that.
Yeah.
Because she is just a
So
good
straight
egg.
down that- yeah,
such
so
an
straight down
such
the
a
line.
strong egg.
Yeah.
And honour and duty and all that kind of stuff is just in her bones, that she's just like, wow.
She's like one of the few genuinely just straightforwardly good people in the thing where there's no side to her, right? And that's what's really.
And that was the hardest thing it was hard to express it because with everything with her, there are emotions, of course there are, because she's a person, but it's encased in this military
Almost encased in a almost like they were encased in a layer of plastic.
Yes. Oh, look at my hair.
Wow.
That's good, isn't it?
Hello.
Do you want to do the line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you no pride? No honour?
And so that's the level of seriousness and gravitas we were working towards the whole time.
Cool.
Amazing. Oh, she's not going to stand up though, is she?
Yes, we're going to get her to stand
We'll get her
up,
to
sure.
stand up.
Oh, look at her
It's
feet.
the last
She's
thing we
got
do.
jointed feet. Yes.
Nice.
Good.
Tim, what was your favourite line?
Can I have my one?
Sure.
No, you haven't got it, have you? So this isn't directed at you either, Ollie, in any way whatsoever. I won't remember the line. The language in this game is so florid and beautiful and far too long for my short-term memory to cope with. But there was one that I do remember which sort of encapsulates what a lot of voice sessions are about, because you have lots of wonderful dialogue. And then you have things like a disappointed exhalation.
Love those.
In the context of your character, and you'll say, so disappointed exhalation, just give me 3. Then you go, and you'll say, yeah, we'll take 2 and 3 as the alt, and then you move on.
I would do that. You animal. I would give you the background of why you were sighing. I would tell you what had just happened. I would do all of that.
No, because it's near the end of the session, so I'm in the groove. I know where we're at, and it's also part of a scene, so I know I had the feeder line. So, but those are the I love those. But disappointed exhalation had a bit of Morgan written on it. That one. It was sort of. Could hear him.
I always like seeing those ones coming up the road because it's how you tell if somebody's, either used to this or game for something a bit interesting. And somebody you can just sail straight through disappointed exhalation with all the professionalism in the world.
A vocalized ellipses though.
Oh,
dot.
Dot.
How do you do that?
Yeah, we write all of those out because they do get. It's a thing in Japanese scripts, literally just a line of dots, and then the actor is supposed to somehow know what to do with that. So yeah, we do try and get rid of those, but they do still show up.
But they are. I think they are synonymous with video games. The dot.
They are like on the page on the screen. So if the sub does that, that's fine. But if you're giving the actor that, that's like.
What do you do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know what I'm doing whenever I do those. If you hear them in the game, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making noises from a bank of noises that I've made. I am not a skilled enough actor. I'm just going. Because I think sometimes you can do that where when people say like what are the most difficult lines you can do, often like the really complex, like emotional scenes, first take, great melody. It's the small stuff.
Yeah.
It's the one word that's really difficult.
Just sometimes hello or hi I struggle with. Yeah.
I would like to know what your favourite things were about your character. This time we're going reverse order. Tim.
Favourite thing about Orlandeau is he has a kind of sense of outrage, a righteous outrage, which I really enjoyed trying to get under the skin of. Short answer, I'm done.
Very succinct.
I love about Agrias that she is just such a protector. That quality is very admirable, and as a mum, it was easy for me to access that sense because when you become a parent, you are immediately somebody's protector. So to get into her, that was my route. Was the mother-child relationship.
Did you just meet Ovelia, Eleanor, just now?
Yeah.
The person you spent all that time protecting. That's quite nice, isn't it?
And I am bigger than her, amazingly.
Yeah.
So I could kind of give her a hug like this.
What did you like about your murderous piece of scum?
I love his little beard. I think he's got such a silly little beard. When I was younger, I watched an episode of 24, the television show 24, and I accidentally put the audio prompts on where it described what's going on. So it was for basically people who were visually impaired, and it would explain what's going on in the scene. And I remember there was a scene that was so vivid for me, and I've always remembered this line, which was, Jack Bauer lurks in the corner with the air of a Jacobean plotter. And I always wanted to play a role with someone who lurks with the air of a Jacobean plotter. And I feel like that is Dycedarg.
Nice.
When people leave the room, he lurks with the air of a Jacobean plotter. And it's this idea of like scheming, intelligence. He's very, very smart and very, very evil, but also very vindicated in his actions. And I really love that about him. It was so playful.
You need to play Bossola in The Duchess of Malfi, then there you are.
Please hire me in that.
Okay, to finish up, one of the things that came up that is a key thing in a lot of the scenes, which we enjoyed very much imagining, was that there's this thing where they played the reed flute, the grass flute. Do you remember when you taught me? And I couldn't believe that made it into the trailer.
Blade of Grass.
Yeah. And we would do the lines surrounding that and then go like, or whatever the sound we imagine that being in that moment of supposed beauty. So I brought some blades of grass so we can all try and make the sound. Joe, Gregg, I think you should do this as well. It doesn't matter, it won't be mine.
You actually have got blades of grass.
Okay,
Are we going to play it with the blade of grass?
Yeah.
so you go like that, I think, between your thumb and your thing like
Come on
that.
round.
Oh, you did.
They're too thin.
No, I did it earlier on. It worked.
What is the exact line? Do you remember when?
Oh yeah, do you remember when you taught me how to play the reed flute or something like that? Hey, there we go.
Yes.
How'd you do that?
My dad taught me this when I was little.
No way.
Do you want to go? Sorry, I thought
That's wild.
That's
you haven't done. Guys, Tim wants it more than anything.
I really want to have a go.
So it needs to be flat, and you need to stretch it. This is a bit curled over. Hang on.
Sorry.
You need to flatten. What?
I'm so sorry. That's
You
pretty
need to
good.
stretch it.
Hey.
It's not a
Like
nice
that.
sound.
It's
not a nice sound,
in
is
the
it?
little gap. So you're holding it.
Wait. Okay. Oh, no, it's behind now.
That's good, that's good.
That sounds horrible. Ready? Into the gap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I live in the countryside. I should be able to do that.
Yeah.
This is really good. Please put this together as a smash cut. Nailed it.
But I think in summary we can see why.
But isn't
This noise
isn't that
was-
scene meant to be like really meaningful?
Yeah. Thank you, you two. That was some beautiful grass
It wasn't, Ollie.
fluting.
It was horrible.
But it worked, which is
Yeah,
good. I
it was
mean,
good
I was
stuff.
dreading us standing here just honking into our hands for like 2 minutes and nothing happened.
But we didn't know that you were going to be a professional reader.
I'm sorry, I should have said.
Thank you all for coming. I hope you're all excited to play Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, when it launches on September the 30th.